Hey, what's up guys? It's me, PODAG, and today I've got another fun compilation for you. I've also got some really long hair, and I wanted to show it off before I, cut it tomorrow. So future me, sorry about that. I know you're probably really mad about the way my hair looks. I'm just so rebellious. Towards that future me who hates this. But anyways, I mentioned it in my final Smiling Friends video. As far as I know, they might bring the show back, who knows, and we talk about that in this compilation. But if you guys need some kind of thing to fall asleep to and you really like Smiling Friends, for the first half of this video, I have a really calm voice. I don't know why. I'm like, hey guys, it's me, PODAG 3, and blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. And then for the second half, I have like a whole YouTuber voice. So you might wake up in the middle of you sleeping through this video, or you might just get really bored if you're trying to watch this awake. Who knows? But I don't know. I liked all of these Smiling Friends videos. You get to see the evolution of how I used to credit forms of media, how I used to credit different kinds of things. Fun fact, the one I'm using at this moment in 2026 is one that I kind of stole from Dead Meat. I like that channel a lot, and I think that's kind of why I stole it. I think they have a really good way of sourcing media. What am I talking about at this point? You guys are here for Smiling Friends. That's why you clicked on the video. If you like this kind of content where playlist kind of formatted stuff, subscribe to this channel that you're watching right now. However, if you don't, my actual channel that you guys can watch and subscribe to, because I'm trying to get 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. If you're interested in me as a person, go subscribe to that. The channel is called Emil, all caps when you spell the name, and it will be linked in the description down below and also at the end of the video. But yeah, for now, that is it for PODAG the Watcher, and I'll see you guys in the next compilation video. Enjoy this one. I think the Smiling Friends ones are a lot of fun. Hey, it's me, PODAG 3, and today I'm going to be ranking every Smiling Friends episode, from worst to best.
You kissed your dad in the mouth?
But I am not including the, currently as I'm recording this, 3 episodes released for Season 2. If one singular person likes this video, I'll do a part 2. And I'll do all the episodes from Season 2. But right now I'm just going to go over Season 1 because recently I rewatched the whole thing and I really friggin' liked it. Now I know what you might be wondering. Why are you covering Smiling Friends? You have never talked about Smiling Friends ever. I fear you're wrong. I made one video on my second account where I said, bro think he Gwimbly. So yeah, I referenced Smiling Friends. But before I get started, I'd like to say that the Smiling Friends show it's a quite simple premise. It is about a company that their goal is to make people smile. And there are characters like Pim and Charlie and Alan and Glep and Mr. Boss. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get the vibe by the end of the show. It also, if you're wondering, why does this yellow man look quite familiar? If you do think that, because he is voiced by Zach Hadel.
Turn on the TV. They hit the Pentagon. They hit the Pentagon.
Who's also one of the co-creators of the show, and the other one is Michael Cusack. I am infamous for saying names wrong, so sorry guys if I, said those wrong. Now before I get started, I'd like to say that I like every episode. I think that this show is really good, and there isn't a bad episode in this batch of 9. But yeah, I figured it'd be fun for me to talk about why I like this show and some of the funniest parts about this show. And if you haven't seen Smiling Friends, spoilers, I guess, but also if you haven't seen Smiling Friends, go and check it out because it is a very good show. And I don't want to just be your only thing talking about it. I'm just yapping at this point. Let's get to the video. Let's get to the rankings.
My own doo-doo feces, okay?
Who violently murdered Simon S. Salty? This episode is about Charlie and Pim leaving the movie theater, and they want a little treat. So Charlie says, how about we go to this restaurant that I liked as a little homunculus? Pim says, okay. They go to this place called Salty's, and once they're inside, they find out that all of the food that Charlie liked on the menu has been taken off for a healthier alternative. This enrages Charlie, and he demands to go talk to Salty himself, who is taking his iconic 7 o'clock nap. But guys, I don't know if the title gave this away. He is not taking his iconic 7 o'clock nap. He has been violently murdered. So Pim and Charlie call the police, and they find out that the police have outsourced murder mysteries. That is in charge, that is the Smiling Friends. They have to do that now. The whole episode is basically just them doing a murder mystery, which is why I put it last on the list. This one doesn't vibe with me. There's some parts I like. I like the grease puddle. Fun fact, that grease puddle was supposed to be voiced by Chris Chan before the incident. And all the little characters are very uniquely funny in their own way, and I like that. I like that the cup says he got doo-doo feces on his costume, which, if you didn't know, is a reference to something Michael Jackson said.
There was doo-doo feces thrown all over the walls, the floor, the ceiling, and it stunk so bad.
I'm just gonna rank this one last, and now we're gonna move on to number...
Oh my god! I love the Enchanted Forest!
Next up on my list is the Enchanted Forest episode. The Enchanted Forest episode is not bad by any means. This is what I said earlier. I like all of these episodes. The Enchanted Forest episode is about Pim and Charlie being called to the Enchanted Forest to do a task and make the princess smile. Along the way, they meet this little guy named Mip, and Pim hates him. When they first get there, Charlie's like, "Oh man, I don't want to do any of these stupid quests. Let's just get out of here and leave." And Pim's like, "I've always wanted to go to the Enchanted Forest ever since I was a little kid."
You kissed your dad on the mouth?
And Mip makes Charlie really, really like the Enchanted Forest. And Pim is very jealous and envious of this. Also, Mip is a terrorist, and that's crazy. That is a crazy ending to that episode. But it's really, really funny, and I mess with it a lot.
Oh my god, that was Bob the whole time?
I just really like the relationship between Pim and Charlie, and I think the more that they're in it together, the better the episodes are. This little romance going on between Charlie and Mip, it doesn't cut it for me. It's underrated. However, I'm not going to be the one that rates it high.
I hope you learn from this cool experience.
Next up is Charlie dies and doesn't come back. This is the, basically, it kind of works as the season finale, because when they were coming out, this was the last episode, and it was like the Christmas special. However, they do have another episode after this one. We'll talk about that later. Charlie dies and doesn't come back it's a cute little Christmas tale. And Charlie goes to Hell, and that's hell. He goes to hell, and he is tasked with having to make the devil himself smile. And if he can do this, he can get his get out of hell free card. So yeah, he kind of wants to do this and go back to Earth. A few notable things from this episode is we find out there's a payoff from a joke from a previous episode where Charlie says his grandmother died from eating peanuts. And then we see Grandma in this one, and she apparently went to hell because when she saw her husband get shot in the head by a burglar, she said D, and so she went to hell. But yeah, Charlie comes back. So the title is wrong, and just for that, it is getting to the bottom of the list. Screw you, Zach Hadel.
It's Mardi Gras right now, so it's super
Mardi
busy.
Gras.
Mardi
Oh,
Gras.
okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Next, we have the Smiling Friends Go to Brazil! Exclamation point. This episode is literally a conversation between Pim, Alan, Glep, and Charlie about how they were supposed to book a hotel in Brazil, but they didn't, and now they can't because it's Mardi Gras. So they just pack it up and go back home.
To be left alone.
Well,
right now,
listen,
please.
you have a very good stay in Brazil, my friend, all right?
Thank
Brazil
you.
is a very good country.
Thank
Yes,
you.
it is. Yes, it is. Yes, we love Brazil. Thank you. Dude, when he moved his arm, I thought he was gonna hit me.
For as simple and lackluster as this plot is, it is actually hilarious. It is the most real thing I think Smiling Friends does in this entire show, and there is tons and tons of bits of the characters just arguing and having very like realistic arguments, which is kind of the charm of the show, if I'm being honest. And then in this episode, they just do that bit the entire time. I can't place it too high because, you know, they kind of just animated the characters walking around an airport, but I do really like the episode, so I think about halfway through the list is a good spot for it. But now I'm going to move on to
Okay. What? Oh, I was just saying okay.
Silly Halloween Special. The Smiling Friends are throwing a silly Halloween party at the Smiling Friends HQ. However, they don't have any firewood for the silly Halloween bonfire that they plan on doing in the middle of the office. I don't know, this Mr. Boss guy is crazy. That's one thing, if you haven't watched the show and you don't know this Mr. Boss guy is actually crazy. He does things that only a insane man would do, and that is why people like Mr. Boss. Pim really is excited for Halloween, so Pim goes into, I guess, connected to the Enchanted Forest. He goes into the woods and goes picking up twigs. I love picking up twigs. There's one simple request that Mr. Boss does, and he tells him to not go over the rickety bridge. Pim goes over the rickety bridge and is basically chased by a skinwalker through the woods. And then they accuse the skinwalker for being racist and kill and eat him at the Halloween party. I just really like how cinematic this episode looks, and it kind of goes like really hard for no reason. But yeah, that's about it. I just kind of like this episode a good bit.
I love kids, Charlie. I love kids.
Desmond's Big Day Off. Well, the plot of this one is it is showcasing what the Smiling Friends do. Pim and Charlie are tasked with trying to help this guy named Desmond who wants to, how do I say this in a PG friendly mannerism? Desmond wants to be a part of the Luke Bookvall Nerf Gun channel, but not for very long because he is gonna leave the channel as soon as he joins. So Pim and Charlie have to cheer him up, and they bring him all around town trying to cheer him up, and eventually he finds out that his purpose in life is killing these little pink creatures called Gwimblies. This is the pilot for the Smiling Friends episode, and it has all the ingredients to make a good Smiling Friends episode. If you have never seen or heard of Smiling Friends, I think you should check out the pilot, and if you don't like the pilot, I guess you just don't vibe with this show. I don't know, but the pilot is a good showcase of like what is so good about the show and why it's so funny. They have so many background Easter eggs, and it's just really, really good.
It is open.
Shrimp's Odyssey is about Charlie and Pim, again, getting their little task to go help this guy named Shrimp. Shrimp is dealing with a heartbreak, and he wants to get back with his ex-girlfriend, Shrimpina. Shrimpina is not shown in this episode at all. I hate to tell you this, but it's pre-established in the beginning of this episode. Pim has horrible eyesight. Shrimp tells Pim where Shrimpina lives, so Pim goes to the wrong place because his eyesight is bad. Here he meets this girl named Jennifer, and Jennifer is a human. Pim thinks this is Shrimpina, and chaos ensues. He falls in love with this girl. It doesn't work out because Pim is just Pim needs to get his eyes checked. That's the whole point of this episode. It's a really big misunderstanding, and that's where the whole comedy comes from.
Pim, her name was Shrimpina. She'd be a shrimp.
I did think that for a moment. I just thought it was like a quirky, like you didn't expect she was going to be a human thing.
I like it. It's really good.
I'm Mr. Frog. This is my show. I eat the bug.
Next is Mr. Frog. All you need to know about this one is Mr. Frog is one of Charlie's favorite celebrities who is now getting canceled because he put a TMZ reporter in his mouth. So Pim and Charlie, what do? They have to make him smile, my friend. They have to make him smile because they are the Smiling Friends. Do you understand this? Mr. Frog is a really funny character. All he does is kind of just go, hello, I'm Mr. Frog. Hello, I'm Mr. Frog. I eat the bug. But I think it's a really hilarious commentary on celebrities. If you see what Mr. Frog becomes in season 2, this episode is even funnier.
Get out of me head!
No, nobody's
Get out of
touching
me
your head,
head!
man.
Okay, now it's time for the moment that you all have been waiting for. I'm going to say my number one favorite Smiling Friends episode. It's Frowning Friends. I really like that episode. Basically, the bizarro versions of Pim and Charlie come into town, and they keep telling everybody that life sucks and they need to be miserable. And Pim and Charlie keep having to go and correct their mistakes or get to the people before the Frowning Friends get to them. Basically, we find out at the end that Mr. Boss hates competition, and these guys are not friendly competition. So Mr. Boss tries to kill these guys, but then he makes them smile. The episode ends with the Renaissance men coming into town, and it brings, just don't ask, but it brings the whole episode full circle. Yeah, I don't know, man. Just me describing the plots and describing like what my thoughts on the episodes are. It can't do it justice because there's so many like little funny little jokes in there that just you won't get unless you actually watch the show. And if I try explaining the bit, it's going to be too long of a video. I might as well just show you the actual episode, but I can't do that. So go on like Max or Hulu or something and go watch Smiling Friends. Go watch it. I totally recommend this. I'm going to rate this show a 5-star ranking. Hey, it's me, PODAG3, and today I am going to be ranking and reviewing every Smiling Friends Season 2 episode ever. The way I'm going to go through this is I'm going to start from my least favorite to favorite episode, and guys, I'm happy to report that again I liked every single episode in this season. They did it. They did it again. They did it again. I don't know how they did it. I think there's only one that I kind of had mediocre feelings towards, and it's really not that big of a deal. I still like it overall, but we'll get to that whenever I get to the rankings. Which, speaking of, I should get to the rankings. Let's get to the magical red jewel, aka Tyler gets fired. Guys, we've made it. We've already made it that quickly to the episode where I said I had neutral opinions on. Combined with the crazy amount of work I was putting into my short film over the past 2 weeks, and the pure insanity of this episode, is most likely the reason why I did not want to review this episode, and frankly didn't have time to. The episode revolves around Pim and Mr. Boss going to this made-up fictional world called Spamtopia, and they are there to get a magical red jewel. However, once they're there, they're told that there is one rule in this fictional made-up place: you cannot look anyone in the eye. And they find out quickly that if they do, they will get murdered. See, the whole Spamtopia thing, I think it's funny on like a first viewing because you're like, what the hell is happening? But from a ranking of every single episode, it's admittedly not as funny as some of the other bits they have in the other episodes. I like the whole thing with Mr. Jester / the King / whatever he goes by. But what really saved this episode for me was probably the subplot with Charlie, Alan, Glepp, and Jason. The little baby that the boss has in the pilot of the show, he dies. He dies under the watch of Charlie and Alan. And it's just a lot of them having a realistic argument about whose fault it is and how they can explain that they killed this baby. By the way, he's not a baby, he's 18. So again, there's another funny aspect to it where they're arguing about if it's a baby or if it's an actual adult. And that's where my liking to it went. I'm sorry, Spamtopia. I know that a lot of people like Spamtopia, but I'm sorry that I'm not one who likes it that much. However, there's one thing I do like about Spamtopia, and it's that it brings kind of a continuity aspect to, ironically, you know, the episode I ranked last in season 1, which was Who Violently Murdered Simon S. Salty. The Fun Twins speak absolute gibberish, and Pim is the only one that understands them, and that is the big plot aspect in this. There's been a lot of Smiling Friends lore videos that go over that, but I figured I'd mention it in here. I really don't know what much else I can say. I liked Tyler. Tyler was cool. A lot of people pointed out how it was kind of like a look what you did, Squidward kind of guy.
Come on, you guys know I was just kidding, right?
Way to go, Squidward. You ruined his favorite holiday for him. And for what? Because he bothered you at work?
Again, with this crazy clashing of animation styles and like realistic humans and stuff, I like that aspect of comedy. I believe a lot of the Spamtopia animation was animated by a guy named Sick Animations. However, Sick Animations does have another animation cameo, I guess you can say, a little further down the line, and I'll get to that, and I thought that bit was really funny. Yeah, I'm sorry, Spamtopia fans, this one wasn't for me. Charlie, Pim, and Bill versus the alien. This episode was the final episode I reviewed, so I'm not going to get too into detail. If you want to know like my real thoughts or like thoughts as soon as I watch the episode, go check that one out. But this episode is not that I didn't like it, it's just the fact that I liked a lot of the episodes after it more. Again, the crazy clashes of animation style with the big 2 aliens in charge of the whole party that are, I think, voiced by the guys from Red Letter Media, being the same animation style as kind of like the Skinwalker guy, the forest demon dude from season 1. Also with the crazy trip scene, I thought the animation styles doing that, it looks like a big Adult Swim bumper. I thought that looked really cool. And the concept itself, where they just find out that aliens are just kind of degenerates, I think it's a pretty funny concept. But again, I liked a lot of the more well thought out concepts. In the later rankings, a little more. I did really enjoy this episode. There's so many bits in here that I laugh at. I laugh at the little screaming alien guy who's playing beer pong. And just the fact that the aliens get abducted by bigger aliens is hilarious. And then they triple it by making the bigger aliens get abducted by police aliens. Like what's the limit to how many people can get abducted? Yeah, but no hate to Charlie, Pym, and Vil versus the alien. I also like the Mars Needs Mom parody of the description of this episode. And this is the episode where I realized that none of these descriptions are actually true, and none of them are meant to make sense at all. But yeah, no shade towards this episode, and it's just gonna go towards the bottom of my list because I don't really have much to say about it. Mr. President. This title is especially funny to me whenever you find out the ending that Mr. Frog wins. So in season 1, we have an episode called Mr. Frog. So then in season 2, we have an episode called Mr. President, and Mr. Frog becomes the president. This episode is about Pym and Charlie being tasked to make the president smile and win an election. This episode, I believe, gets the up on the alien episode, frankly, because it is kind of a smiling friends adventure. Oh, that was a loud thunder. I don't know if that picked up on the microphone, but there's like castle thunder sound effects playing outside my window right now. So if you guys hear any of that crazy atmospheric sounds, just don't worry about it. Anyways, Mr. President, I think, gets a little boost above the alien episode simply because, I don't mean this in a mean way, but I feel it's more well thought out. It's a lot more of a commentary on things that are going on in the world. And whenever I went back to look at these episodes, I'm noticing a lot of them aren't really about the smiling friends going to make someone smile like the first season was. This one is one of the ones that actually does that, and I admire it for that. I think the concept of them having to go make the president smile is a good idea, especially the live action dude that played the president. I don't really know his name. I follow him on TikTok though. I'm pretty sure he's a stand-up comedian, but I hope he's not a crazy old man that they just took advantage of. To me, one of the most notable bits especially was whenever they referenced the Lyle, wake up, turn on the TV. And I mean, if you didn't reference it in Mr. President, what episode were you gonna do it in? A Allen Adventure. This one's about at the halfway point of my list simply because of how freaking cinematic it is. I admire how much this episode like goes crazy with the animation, and I wouldn't doubt it if they let another episode's budget kind of just like go down just so this one could go up. This one has like crazy animation, and not to mention they have a lot of like claymation looking characters. They have a lot of claymation looking characters in this season. This one has the pirates, and then From the Boss Finds Love has the boss's wife, which I was told in a comment on that video that her and Satan are not 3D animated. They're like 2D pictures that are just really, really detailed. I think that's amazing. I mean, I feel like that's gotta be a lot of money. If they did that on the pirates, I feel like that's gotta be a lot of money. Another thing that I think a lot of people like about this episode is that they turned a simple grocery trip store to a crazy adventure that Alan goes on for a whole day, and Mr. Landlord is in charge of everything and it was pulling the strings of like the whole operation, and all he wants to do is smoke weed, fill his belly with diet soda, and play Burnout Revenge for the PS2. Let him live his life. Let him be happy. Pym finally turns green. So at this point in the series, this is the last episode in the whole series. It's the Christmas episode this time around. The descriptions aren't the only thing that are being inaccurate. The titles are also being inaccurate. I don't know what the hell Pym finally turns green is supposed to mean or reference, but it's not anything to do with the plot. So I'll give you a brief little description of what it is. Charlie and Glep are making an ugly snowman in the backyard, and after Pym puts a radioactive dandelion on it, it comes to life, and they basically do a Frosty the Snowman parody. They even have a voice cameo by the guy who voices Shake from... what's that one show? Oh man, it's blanking on me right now. It's probably popping up on the screen. It's probably popping up all over the screen. It's the Shake guy. It's the Shake and the Fries. And what is that? What is that show? This episode, I think, starts the four-way tie for my favorite episodes in the season. This one went last simply because it's a parody of Frosty the Snowman, which I think they did really well, and I really like it. But the other ones are so original and unique, I had to put them above it. This one, again, with the claymation. This one's definitely claymation. claymation. There is no way any of you in the comments are gonna tell me it was something else. That was clay. It was literally clay, man. Okay, that was claymation. That snowman rotten, he was claymation. But I don't know, man. This episode is definitely at the top of my list because I'm a big Christmas guy. I don't know. I've always been a big guy on theming. I don't know if you've seen that throughout any of my old videos, but usually if I do an episode themed to a certain thing, I try to switch out like Funko Pops or dress a certain way. I love Christmas. I love Christmas theming in cartoons and special episodes with special theming. And I am 100% gonna rewatch this one this upcoming Christmas season because there's no way this is gonna be the 4th of July special for me. But I think after this Christmas episode, people might hate me for saying this simply because of how much this next character is so beloved online, and I really like this next episode because guys, this is the thing that got me hooked on the idea of having a Smiling Friends season 2, and it's because I saw it early on April 1st. Gwimbly Definitive Remastered Enhanced Extended Edition DX 4K Anniversary Director's Cut. Sorry guys, but that goes down a few points for me having to look that up about 7 times to figure out what the full name of that episode is. I feel bad putting this one 3, but it's my list and it's my opinion because again, I love Gwimbly. I'm going to explain this episode in real life terms so I don't have to keep going back and forth between reality and Smiling Friends world. Basically, Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie is homeless because Microsoft does not make any games for him anymore. The connections to Microsoft are crazy. They basically have a Halo/Doom guy mishmash in the office that is saying is the new poster child of the company. I was a big Smash Bros guy a few years ago. I know, and I remember the biggest debate was if Microsoft was gonna pick Banjo or they were gonna pick frickin' Master Chief. I think that alone definitely inspired this episode, along with the whole trope of washed up celebrities. The idea of this being a Banjo-Kazooie and Microsoft parody goes even further because towards the end of the episode, they end up in a Super Smash Bros. Clone. I mean, I friggin' love this episode because of how I knew exactly what they were referencing, and that's one of the first times these crazy little critters of creators have been able to get me to know what's going on. That was frightening. That was a frightening noise. I really do like how everybody was in on the same joke of everybody being like, yeah, do you guys remember Gwimbly? Gwimbly has always been a huge N64 character. So in my 4-way tie of favorite Smiling Friends Season 2 episodes, this just made it to number 3. Because the other 2 above it, I really, really, really like. The Boss Finds Love. I really like The Boss Finds Love. Let's go through the reasons why I like this episode so much. Number 1, it was a themed episode. In Pim Finally Turns Green, I went over why I really, really like themed episodes. It's really odd because this episode isn't themed like crazy like Christmas, like there isn't Halloween decorations everywhere, but since this release schedule was so odd and it was in like May that this came out, it had me thinking halfway through, is this a Halloween episode? It was so Halloween-y, I guess is the word I'm gonna use, throughout the entire thing. I don't know, this one was also really friggin' cinematic, man. This is like a Alan Adventure, but it's scary. It's scary. I like scary stuff. One of my favorite movies ever is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I like goofy, scary stuff. But there was something about this one that I really liked. And now I'm trying to put my finger on what the thing I really liked about this episode was. Do you guys know? Yeah. It's probably because the Nostalgia Critic was in it. I'll be so honest with you guys. I can talk my head off about the theming and the cool plot and how they had a callback to Satan from the original season. But guys, the reason I like this episode so much is because Doug Walker was in it, and I'm a big Doug Walker fan. I'm gonna use this Smiling Friends episode to flex some things. Now, I didn't win these originally, but I do own the Learn to Metal Bend book that Doug Walker uses as a prop in his top 12 Avatar episode. You don't believe me? Here's the signature by Doug Walker. In fact, those 2 other books up there are the other books that he uses in that exact scene. We can thank my buddy Rajan for getting me those because he just decided he didn't want them anymore. He's the one that won those in an eBay auction, and now I own them. Now I own them, and they're a part of the PODAG set. Okay, you know, now that I think about it, the Doug Walker books are it's kind of crazy. He signed those books that he didn't write. Why did he do that? Let me have this episode as number 2, because now I have to go explain why I like Brother's Egg. I mean, I didn't say that. Anyway, guys, here's my review of Brother's Egg, as if I didn't talk about it enough. My original episode. Now, I don't know how, but the Smiling Friends creators have made an episode here that I really adore. I like the goofy Australian sounding homunculus. I like the fact that they are trying to make two brothers smile and get along together again. I like so many bits in this episode that I am giving this the coveted #1 spot on this ranked list. It's not coveted. This video is going to get less than 100 views, and there's no way this spot is coveted. But guys, I really like Brother's Egg. I don't know what it is. It's sometimes it makes me feel things. And not to mention, this is the animation by Sick Animations that I really like, where the little goblin dies and then the other one talks about it and says, "No, my brother, no." You guys know what scene I'm talking about? I really hope I played a clip there. I didn't look like a crazy person. I know a lot of you are gonna disagree with me and be like, "But Quimbly, but President Jimble, but what about Spam Toby?" No, I don't care. I don't care. This is my list, this is my ranking, and I am putting Brother's Egg at #1. You know what's another interesting Easter egg they put into this episode that I have seen literally no one talk about? Doug Walker doesn't make an appearance in this episode, but in the Smiling Friends universe, Doug Walker plays a character named Daniel the Demon Slayer. Professor Psychotic is named Daniel, and his brother is named Doug. Daniel the Demon Slayer and Doug Walker. Any further questions? Guys, this is about it for my Smiling Friends Season 2 ranked. I really appreciate anyone who has stuck through this entire Smiling Friends adventure, and I thank anyone who has joined me on this Smiling Friends adventure. But that is about it for this video, and I will see you guys next week. Hey guys, it's me, Emil, and today I'm going to be ranking Smiling Friends Season 3. I hope you guys still care enough to watch this video, because I filmed it in December, and I thought it was getting posted in December, so there's like Christmas decorations and I'm on like a different set. But yeah, so that's what that's about. But I didn't want to re-record it on a new set just because of like continuity or whatever, so I was hoping you guys were just not mad at me that I recorded a new intro. Yeah, I'm gonna go to that footage right now. Yeah. Here we go. Hey guys, it's me, Emil, and today I'm going to be ranking every single episode in Smiling Friends Season 3. There was a point in time where I thought Smiling Friends Season 3 was a lot weaker than the previous 2 seasons, but after rewatch, I think I like it just about the same as the others. I understand that there's a lot of online criticism because I think the second season really blew Smiling Friends up a lot more than it already was, and people are used to binging shows now, so I'm pretty sure people were pretty angry that it was just like a 15-minute show that would come out every single week, which I didn't mind. I kind of just had more issues with like some of the episodes, but I don't know, some of those issues have kind of resolved, and I'll talk about them when I actually rank the episodes. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I thought the new season was good, and once again, I liked every single episode. But which one did I like the most? That's what we're gonna find out in this video, where I rank them from least favorite to favorite episode. And stick around for the end, where I do a revised version of my ranking of every single episode of Smiling Friends. Number 8, Silly Samuel. 8 follows Pim and Charlie's quest to help this guy named Silly Samuel get taken more seriously, but it's kind of hard because he looks, you know, like this, but he has a very serious voice and is voiced by Connor O'Malley. I don't know what my issue with it is specifically. However, I think out of all the moments where I laughed, it was like not the Silly Samuel parts, and it was more like the boss shenanigans with a guy who's inspecting the building, because that's also happening in this episode. There's a building inspection happening at the Smiling Friends headquarters, and they're screwed because it is a giant circle smiley face. So I typically like the Connor O'Malley style of humor, but for some reason it just wasn't hitting for me in this specific episode. Definitely the joke with this one is that Connor O'Malley has such a serious voice, and he was voicing such a funny looking character, so the juxtaposition of that would make it seem very funny. But I don't know, I kind of just thought it was okay as far as like Smiling Friends episodes go. I didn't hate it, and I'm not going to try to nitpick it to be like, oh, I didn't like this one specific thing. Because I really can't do that. I just thought it was okay. And that's all I've got to say on that. Number 7, Pim and Charlie Save Mother Nature. This episode follows the Smiling Friends as they go on a well-deserved vacation. Not like the Brazil one that happened in season 1. But this one is to the boss's cabin in the woods. Here the boss tells Charlie that he should go out and find a specific cryptid that walks in the woods, which by the end of the episode ends up being a picture of his butthole. But Pim and Charlie don't know that, and they go on a walk in the woods. They run into Mothman, and after Charlie litters, they run into Mother Nature, who is like like a claymation animated character that represents all of nature, you know, because she's the mother of it. And then Mother Nature tries to kill Charlie for littering in the woods. So they kill Mother Nature, and now Mother Nature is just dead in the Smiling Friends universe. Obviously, I like this episode a little more than the last one. As weird as it is to say, I think episode 7 is where it gets to like the great episodes, because I like a lot of them. So I don't have a lot of negatives with this one, and I'm just gonna kind of talk about what I liked about it. This one strays away from the normal Smiling Friends adventure, which I really, really enjoy. I like the ones where they just go on a mission to try and make someone smile. However, it is still really, really funny. I think all the Mother Nature aspects kind of remind me of like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Like it has that kind of nature of it's like it's all happy-go-lucky and then it turns evil, and I think that's a very like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared type thing, and I think that's pretty cool. That's probably one of the reasons why I did really like this episode. There's also cryptid talk in here, and of course the Alan Glepp and Mr. Boss subplot is just really funny, especially the part where Alan licks cookie crumbs off of his chest. I like that. Number 6, the Glepp app. This is the Christmas special of this season, and it was the season finale. This episode follows the origin of Glepp and shows how long he's actually been alive. They teased that last season, but this season they actually paid it off and showed like what he's been doing the whole time he's been alive. I believe this episode had a different writer, and I think it makes sense because it is very like, it's less absurdist humor and it kind of treats it seriously, which in turn kind of makes it a lot funnier. I thought the family dinner scene at the end with the schnoz showing up was pretty funny, and I also it makes my theory that I've kind of had in the back of my mind that the Smiling Friends writers like Frosty the Snowman, because they've referenced it twice now. Both Christmas episodes have had like Frosty the Snowman stuff. Again, I thought this was a great episode, but it is getting docked a lot of points because the Glepisode was right there, but they didn't call it that. Apparently in another language it is called Glepisode, but I'm actually mad it's not called Glepisode. That's a total misapprehension. I was actually telling people about that. I was telling them that there was the Glepp ep, and I called it a Glepisode, and they were like, oh, that's such a funny name. And I was like, yeah, that's not what it's actually called, though. Yeah, that's disappointing. But this episode was cool for a lot of reasons. I like the fact that they finally showed what Glepp's purpose at Smiling Friends was. He's the one that kind of created it. And I thought it was cool that they finally brought that rotoscope guy back from the pilot and the Halloween special from the first season. I've also always liked Glepp as a character, so having a Glepp-centric episode to show him and his life with his wife, Marge Simpson, who has never heard of The Simpsons, but her name is Marge Simpson. And finally giving her a voice actress I thought was really cool. So yeah, the Glepp app. And next we're gonna move on to an episode about people like me.
You didn't just see my penis, did you?
The Mole Man episode begins with Pim and Charlie falling into a pit underneath Smiling Friends headquarters. Here they meet the Mole Man, who has apparently been stalking them on all their adventures and is the biggest Smiling Friends fan. Meanwhile, on the surface, Mr. Boss assigns Alan and Glepp as the new Smiling Friends, and they go to make this mom smile because she just has 3 kids that run around like little goblins, because apparently that's all little kids do in the Smiling Friends universe. They also turn Glepp into like LeBron James from that one trend they were doing around Space Jam 2. You remember that one? Is that an oldie but a goodie? Can we bring that one back? Can we bring that one back? I think we should bring that one back. That one was funny. But eventually Pim and Charlie break out of the Mole Man's clutches, and then they run up to the surface where Alan and Glepp are. And the Mole Man ends up marrying the mom that needed to smile. So they accomplished their job of making the mom smile. I thought this episode was really funny. For a while it was my favorite episode, and then I rewatched a lot of the other episodes, and for some reason, somehow, they took over as my favorite episode. I don't know what happened, but that's just a thing that I went through, and I wanted to share it with you guys because I wanted to be vulnerable with all of you. The Mole Man is a very funny character, and he is voiced by somebody associated with Salad Fingers. I never really watched that show, but that's what I heard in the grapevine. And he 100% carries this episode. Well, him and the puppet / CGI looking version of Jesse the Body Ventura. I love his funny little voice and his funny little things he says. His funny little voice carries him as a character, and I think makes him like 1,000 times funnier. And it's just really funny in general that his whole shtick is that he just doesn't want people to see his penis that he thinks is weirdly shaped. Mole Man was really funny for me, and I really hope he returns in like a future season, kind of like DJ Spit does, or maybe he'll return in like Avengers Doomsday, who knows. Number 4, Curse of the Green Halloween Witch. This is the Halloween episode for this season and revolves around a witch telling the Smiling Friends crew if they don't give her like a quarter, then she's gonna make them like kill each other, and they're gonna be cursed and like murdered if they don't do anything. And then all of that happens, and you find out that none of that actually happened, and it was just in the little orb that she was showing them. As a Smiling Friends episode, it wasn't very funny. I did like the Alan part where he was like, me was born this way. But as a Halloween special, I thought it was really, really good. The animation is like top tier, especially the shots of like Charlie's face melting off and his teeth falling out. I also really like that part where Pim's like falling in the darkness after he tries to like leave Smiling Friends headquarters. And then there's like weird 2D images of Glep, Alan, and Charlie and Mr. Boss. It reminds me of that like scene in Dumbo where he's having like the weird alcohol-induced trip and he sees all of the crazy elephants. There also was that cameo from the guy from Silent Hill, which was crazy. Like, that's how bad this curse was, bro. You had video game characters showing up and trying to kill this guy. And I'm sorry if it wasn't Silent Hill that it was, but I know it's like the guy with the pyramid on his head. I don't know his name. I'm sure it's not something obvious that I probably have said already. But another cool thing of why I really like this episode is because it kind of worked in like a serialized way. In the first few episodes, they were being kind of really mean to Pim. And I think it kind of fit like a weird overarching narrative that all the Smiling Friends were just being mean to Pim. I know there was a lot of like TikToks and stuff I saw where they were like, oh, why are they being so mean to Pim this season? But this episode literally showed his like breaking point of like, if you're mean to me this long, then I'm gonna, I guess, kill you. I guess Pim has that in him to just kill people. I wouldn't have thought that little sweet guy did. He's a little jelly bean. He eats little blueberries with his whole head. Like, he's not gonna hurt anything. But maybe if he's under the curse of, like, the Halloween witch, he is. Number 3, Schmalugles. This episode was Schmalugally Loogally Glue. It follows Pim and Charlie going to Schmalugleville to help the Schmalugles make their schmalugling machine start schmalugling again, I think. But then after it starts working, and they start doing like their schmalugle dancing, this giant wizard guy kidnapped Pim and a bunch of schmalugles. Now Charlie has to train all the schmalugles and bring them up to the castle and take down the wizard. This episode was an obvious parody of the Smurfs, and I thought it was really funny as someone who liked the Smurfs a lot as a kid. I really want to know what Andre the Black Nerd thought of this. But dude, I think this was number 3, simply because of that training montage. That scene caught me so off guard, I had to rewind and watch it again because it was so funny. I also thought the little commentary about how this guy was going bald, and he was struggling with going bald, so he turned evil. Well, yeah, I think that's a cool motivation for a character like that to have, because, like, I mean, a lot of people like get really self-conscious about their hairline, and a lot of people get really self-conscious about the fact that they might be losing a little bit of hair or their hair is thinning, and sometimes they just wear hats in all their commentary videos, and they schmalugalilu. Number 2, Le Voyage Incroyable de Monsieur Guanouille. I think I might have nailed that one, brother man. I think I nailed that. Je crois que j'ai plutôt bien reçu mon pote. This episode follows Mr. Frog after he's basically conquered the whole world and had done every single thing he can do ever in life. So now he's depressed, appoints a peanut as president of the United States, and I guess the world, and Pim and Charlie are forced to make him smile. Pim tells him that there's a lot of things that you can smile about in life, and one of them is family. And this makes him realize that he misses his father and his family, and he goes to visit his dad, who is Creed from The Office, painted green. And then he kind of achieves a state of nirvana and turns into a realistic CGI version of a frog. And for the first time, instead of saying, hello, Mr. Frog, hello, he says, goodbye. This episode was kind of beautiful. I don't know. I thought the really funny part of a 2D animated simplistic frog arguing with a realistic man painted entirely green is like the funniest thing ever. And I know they were doing this one as like the award-winning Oscar bait kind of thing. Well, I guess it would be Emmy bait because it's on TV. But overall, I thought this one was a really, really solid episode. There was a lot of smooth animation, especially in Pim's little song he sings to Mr. Frog. And then when Mr. Frog's life flashes before his eyes, all the little references there to like a bunch of celebrities and a bunch of people in real life that the Mr. Frog character is probably based on. I thought that was really neat and cool, and I paused through it just to see all the little stills, and even the one that showed Pim and Charlie trying to save him was really cool. But besides that, I also really love the fact that they were able for 3 consistent seasons to keep Mr. Frog the central focus of the second episode. I wonder what season 4 will bring, because it is confirmed, but now that he's like a CG animated frog, I wonder if they will continue the Mr. Frog episodes in season 4? I don't know. I wonder. Oh, I wonder. Number 1, Squim Returns. Squim Returns follows a typical day of Smiling Friends shenanigans, but this time Charlie is called in for work to play a new video game that just came out, and the boss brings back his first ever smiling friend, Squim. And let me tell you, I think Squim is the funniest character that they've ever done on this show, period. He matches my sense of humor perfectly, and I have seen this episode like 3 or 4 times, and I love it every single time. There's so many funny gags. This one reminds me of like season 1 Smiling Friends, and I love it. Squim's like in completely fluid animation is really funny, but Squim doesn't carry this entire episode on his shoulders. There's a lot of other lifting done by a lot of the other gags in this one. Starting off first in the beginning of the episode with the Simpsons parody, I thought that was really funny, and it was really cool how they timed that one really well with my new Simpsons hyperfixation that occurred whenever Simpsons took over Fortnite last month, or if I don't post this in December and in November, when the Simpsons took over the map in November, which by the way, they need to bring that back or make it with another cartoon. That was the coolest thing ever. Also, I know Squim is supposed to look probably like Pim and Charlie combined, like a baby version of the two of them. At least that's how I saw it. I really think he looks though like that Here Comes Pac-Man video. And then of course the other hilarious part of this episode, which was the crazy animation they did for Charlie's parasite kebab trip. I know I've said before that a lot of the weird animation in Smiling Friends is very Adult Swim bumper coated, but this one was probably the most Adult Swim bumper coated one they've ever done. And I thought the whole like Charlie tweaking thing was really funny. Also, this episode confirmed that DJ Spit is still alive. I don't know what was the result of him being an Allen adventure, but yeah, I mean, he's alive. And he still is like, the devil is here, the devil. Now the video's over, let me know what you guys thought of season 3 of Smiling Friends. I again really liked it, and I'm kind of weirded out by a lot of people who are saying like that it was like hella mid this time. I really liked a lot of it, and I'm glad I was able to have my enjoyment like back into the show after I didn't really like Silly Samuel all that much. Still a good episode, but I just thought it was kind of boring. Oh my god, what the hell? When did I get that?
We should probably get into the real meat and potatoes of why we're here, which is, and I'm going to cut right to the chase, this is not a bit, this is not a joke. Michael and I are here to announce that Smiling Friends will be ending after season 3 is done.
What? No. They have 2 more seasons. This can't be right. There is no way Smiling Friends is over? Hey guys, it's me, Emil, and today let's talk about Smiling Friends. Now, if you watch this channel long enough, you probably know that I'm a big fan of Smiling Friends, and I have covered seasons 1, 2, and 3 all on this channel and ranked all of them. However, even though I uploaded a video literally 1 month after season 3 ended, I found out pretty soon after that Smiling Friends was going to be canceled after the 3rd season. So at first I was like, oh, well that's good. Now I don't have to make any more Smiling Friends ranking videos. I can make a big compilation on my 2nd channel, which is called PODAG, if you guys are interested in subscribing to that. But no, it wasn't over still. So they announced that in April of 2026, they would be officially ending Smiling Friends with the last 2 final episodes of the season, which would mean that season 3, episode 9 and episode 10 would be releasing, and that would be how it ended. There would be no big finale. There would be no Smiling Friends the movie. That would be it. That would be the last 2 episodes, and it would be over after that. And I know it's like creeping up on almost 2 months since that came out, but I didn't have the time to make it whenever it was actually ending. So I figured, why not now? Now that Smiling Friends has been kind of dead for a long time now, let's officially end this Smiling Friends series that I started on this channel and talk about my thoughts on the ending of Smiling Friends Season 3. But there's something I have to say first. Before we get into my thoughts on the 2 episodes, I would like you guys to consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. If you've never seen me before, you're never ever going to see me again. This channel is going to disappear off of YouTube if you don't subscribe right now. Did you do it? Oh my god, you didn't do it. I'm going to disappear. I'm going to die and disappear, and it's all your fault. I'm going to die and disappear, and it's all your fault. I'm going to die and disappear, and it's all your fault!
Just kidding. I'm back.
Season 3, Episode 9, Friendbot, version 15892187318092113. The episode begins with Pim and Charlie getting a job to go make someone smile for Mr. Boss, who's kind of doing an ASMR type thing. And when they get to this guy's trailer, they find an incredibly fat red guy bossing around his robot that he bought on the web because it's not going fast enough for his liking. And apparently this guy is just incredibly impatient because Pim and Charlie just got there and he's already canceling the job. But as they're going to leave, this guy has a heart attack and dies. And now Friendbot has no owner and no purpose. So after Charlie is really impressed by the fact that Friendbot can generate a hot dog that kind of looks like Pim, they take him to the Smiling Friends headquarters and introduce him to the rest of the Smiling Friends. After they boot him up, the Friendbot starts to do everyone's job. That is, everyone except for Pim. Because while everybody else is kind of like, oh, this is great, we can just do whatever we want now because we don't have to make people smile, but we still can come to work. Pim is like, wait, I actually like to make people smile. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Oh, ooh. So Pim goes and confronts Friendbot out in the wild while he's making other people smile. And Friendbot is kind of just like, wait, why won't you let me make everyone happy and smile? I'm really good at it and I could get it done way faster than you could, Pim, because I'm a robot and you're not. So this sends Pim into a very, very introspective moment because he loves everybody, but he also loves making people smile. So he has to make the difficult decision of letting this robot take the one thing he loves to do or having to risk that everyone might be kind of sad for the rest of their days. Inevitably, he decides that he will let Friendbot do the job of letting everyone smile, but as he's going to tell Friendbot that this is what he wants, the other Smiling Friends show up and they start fighting over who gets to use the robot until Glep unplugs him and rips his head off. And it's revealed that he's kind of just a guy in a suit who's apparently using apps on his phone and ChatGPT to do all of the things that he was doing to help the Smiling Friends. I like this episode a lot. However, regarding the placement of this episode, I feel like this one would have been a really good finale for the show. One of my biggest gripes in the last video I did about Smiling Friends was that a lot of the adventures were not actually about making people smile. They kind of just like did whatever and then it eventually got back to the making people smile kinda vaguely. But a lot of season 3 was a lot of them not going on jobs to make people smile. However, this episode is a meta commentary on that and basically says, what if the Smiling Friends got taken over by AI? Even though it wasn't designed to be the series finale, could have been a good episode to end things off on. Some other things I like about this episode is that the woman that Alan is painting once he doesn't have to make people smile anymore or do whatever he does around the office is that girl on TikTok that made the life-size Alan plushie, and she makes many cameos in this episode because she's credited as Alan's muse, which means that she's just the person that he drew every single time he did a painting. I'm also a huge fan of that random CGI part that happens in there and Glep's little like scurry away he does when Friendbot gets rebooted. I also think kind of having the through line of the whole episode, I didn't talk about this earlier at the beginning, but there's so many times in this episode where Charlie's talking about how he gets scammed on the internet. And then at the end of the episode, having the guy in the suit scamming them and he also got scammed too. It was a really cool way to tie everything together. Now, is there a thing I didn't like about this episode? Not really. I don't know, this penultimate episode kind of felt very classic Smiling Friends to me, and that's what I wanted the whole last season, so great job. I love this one. Maybe could have used a few more fun critters in the background, but I don't think that's what kind of episode this was. However, I think I'll give this one like 4.5 Frankenberries out of 5. Moving on, the series finale of Smiling Friends is Charlie's uncle dies and doesn't come back, which is a fun callback to the episode Charlie dies and doesn't come back. The episode begins by Charlie and Pim getting a job to make Charlie's uncle, Uncle Bilbert, smile. Meanwhile, in the subplot, Alan is going on a date with a beautiful Jessica Rabbit looking woman. I don't know what's going on here. Like, this girl is gorgeous. Gulp. When Charlie and Pim arrive at Charlie's uncle's, Charlie's uncle tells them that he has one day left to live. And since Charlie's like a clown or whatever, he wants him to help make his last day on Earth a good one. Charlie actually starts getting beat up over this because he loves his Uncle Bilbert. But they have to get their job done and they have to make sure that he smiles on his last day on Earth. They start his best day ever by going to get him some nondescript drugs from an actual crazy guy that just throws his brain against the wall. The next stop is to an underground fight club where little 3D creatures try to kill each other. Then after that place gets raided by the cops, Pim, Charlie, and Uncle Bilbert all get arrested. While in jail, Bilbert finally admits to Pim and Charlie that he is not dying. And he thinks that they are really stupid for falling for this trick, even though he hired them because he was dying and told them that he is dying. And why wouldn't they react like that? Uncle Bilbert, you are a bad man. Charlie thinks it's all fun and games, and he's like, oh, this is one of his crazy little bits. But Pim is actually really upset because he kind of ruined his whole day by taking him to a strip club, making him witness a guy throw his brain against a wall, and then getting arrested by the cops. So Pim stands up to Uncle Bilbert, and Uncle Bilbert unleashes the beast on Pim, and this causes Charlie to finally stand up against Uncle Bilbert in the series finale of Smiling Friends. Right after he stands up to Uncle Bilbert says, wow, I can't believe you did it. You finally stood up to me for bullying you all these years, and I want you to know that all of this was one big test. Apparently. And he passed. Charlie passed. So now everybody's good. They're all leaving the jail. And oh, they still locked up Uncle Bilbert because he's actually the Cincinnati pest.
Was that also part of the test? Or was...
No, that was more personal stuff. More like a side thing.
Okay. But now that Uncle Bilbert is locked up, Charlie and Pim have to take care of his dog. They take the dog for a walk on the boardwalk, and suddenly the A-plot of Charlie and Pim helping Uncle Bilbert merges with Alan's plot of him, like, getting the hots for this Jessica Rabbit lady. Because when Alan and this lady are making out on the beach, Uncle Bilbert's dog attacks this Jessica Rabbit lady, rips her face off, and reveals that the entire time that these two were going out, it was secretly Mr. Landlord the whole time. Remember him from an Alan adventure? But after Mr. Landlord scurries away across the ocean, they take Uncle Bilbert's dog to the office, finally get their 5th smiling friend, and they all lived happily ever after. So that was Smiling Friends. That's it. The show's over now, apparently. What are some things I liked about this last episode? I love this last episode. I think this last episode was great. Again, going back to the thing where I said I liked when they actually do the Smiling Friends jobs. They did that in this episode. I mean, it was like the inciting incident once again for this last episode, which makes me think that if they would have done a season 4, they would have done a lot more of those like Smiling Friend adventure actual things. But I don't know. I think John DiMaggio did a great job as Uncle Bilbert, and that was a really cool last celebrity cameo to have in this episode. Having the payoff of showing who Charlie's uncle finally is was great. I mean, I totally forgot, but they mention it a lot in old episodes about how much Charlie knows about his uncle and how close they are. And I don't know. I think it's cool that the series finale, even though it wasn't meant to be the series finale, features a character that is like rumored the entire series but never shows up. That's a cool way to end the show. And even though I said the AI one would have been a good last episode, this one also works as a pretty good last episode. Again, like I said, it pays off the Charlie's uncle thing. It brings back Mr. Landlord. And because this is the series finale, the last word that they say in Smiling Friends ever is the word silly, which is pretty cool. So yeah, 5 out of 5 Frankenberries for this one. Yeah, I love Smiling Friends. Was such a good show. And what do I do now? What do I do? I guess I could rank every episode. I know it's a little anticlimactic because there was just 2 of them. However, I think maybe I rank every episode. I'd give a definitive list of my thoughts on every single episode of Smiling Friends. I just made this list just now. There are 27 episodes, and I missed one last time. I'm sorry about that. But it's in there this time, and the list is a little bit different than the Season 3 ranked video, which nobody watched that one anyway. So let's hope that all 70 of you watching this video are satisfied with this list that I have compiled. Number 27, The Magical Red Jewel, aka Tyler Gets Fired. Number 26, Enchanted Forest. Number 25, Who Violently Murdered Simon S. Salty. Number 24, Charlie, Pim, and Bill versus the Alien. Number 23, Mr. President. Number 22, Silly Samuel. Number 21, Pim and Charlie Save Mother Nature. Number 20, Pim Finally Turns Green. Number 19, A Silly Halloween Special. Number 18, The Smiling Friends Go to Brazil. Number 17, The Glep App. Number 16, A Alan Adventure. Number 15, The Boss Finds Love. Number 14, Desmond's Big Day Out. Number 13, Friendbot version 1258921. Number 12, Mole Man. Number 11, Curse of the Green Halloween Witch. Number 10, Grimly Definitive Remastered Enhanced Extended Edition DX 4K Anniversary Director's Cut. Number 9, Charlie Dies and Doesn't Come Back. Number 8, Schmalugels. Number 7, Shrimp's Odyssey. Number 6, Brother's Egg. Number 5, Mr. Frog. Number 4, Le Voyage Incroyable de Monsieur Grignoux. Number 3, Frowning Friends. Number 2, Charlie's Uncle Dies and Doesn't Come Back. And number 1, Squim returns. But that's it. Smiling Friends is over. And thank God I will never have to say the full episode of the Gwimbly episode ever again. But in closing, what are my final thoughts on Smiling Friends? My first thought is I'm really glad that it was a show that never really was bad. I know I just ranked every single episode, but every single one of those episodes is good in their own special way. I've said this before, but every time I rank these episodes of Smiling Friends, it's more of just a ranking of how much I like them and how much I like them like more than the other ones. None of them are actually that bad. In fact, all of them are actually pretty good. And as much as it makes me sad to see that they've ended the show, it does make me happy to know that they weren't gonna run out of steam and then just eventually get bad. I'm happy that there will always be Smiling Friends and it will always be good in my memory, and there will be no reason for me to just hate on Smiling Friends because it was always really good. And I know there's a lot of YouTube movies coming out into theaters, which is also really good, but I always think of this as one of the big successes for a YouTuber to go into the actual Hollywood media stream, I guess. Because not only was Smiling Friends just like a really cool show that people liked at a time, it kind of just broke the mold of just like what it meant to be like a YouTuber thing. I mean, they just did literally what they would have done on YouTube, but on Adult Swim with a bigger budget, and they kind of just, they did what they wanted to do. And I think that's super cool. It's also super cool that Smiling Friends stayed in the cultural zeitgeist for so long. With the always coming up seasons, even though people would get mad when the episodes were 15 minutes, even though that's always how they were. I just think it's super cool that this show was able to exist and has existed for, what is it, 6 to 4 years, however you want to talk about it. But yeah, since I labeled the video this, and you guys should have been watching to the end, because whenever I watch somebody's YouTube video, I watch the entire thing. Thank you if you have watched this far, of course. But now that I'm legally 21, for my friend's birthday, I went to a bar with him, and I met this guy one time at a bar, not my friend, somebody else that was at the bar. And we were talking about Smiling Friends because I told him I made Smiling Friends videos on YouTube, and he told me this theory that he has for what they're doing with the show. So credit goes to him, but I'm gonna steal it and put it in this video because he's not gonna do it. This random guy at the bar told me what he thinks they are doing is taking an off-season break. He thinks that they're still gonna make season 4 and 5, but they don't know when that's gonna be. And they're kind of burnt out, and they want to make sure those 2 seasons are as good as the first 3. But since the gap between seasons 1 and season 2, and season 2 and season 3, so many people on the internet were just being like, when's season 3 coming out? When's season 2 coming out? Blah, 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 blah. I think they were like, yeah, we're going to end the show. And then maybe in like 5 years, we're going to come back and make seasons 4 and 5. And those seasons will hopefully be really good. I think that is definitely a possibility of something that could happen. And even though this guy was kind of talking a little crazy, he was low-key spitting facts with this one. I think there is some kind of nugget that we can talk about from that, and that's why I included it at the end of this video. I think they could be doing some kind of like off-season break right now, but they just know how mad people get about how long it takes to animate things, which, you know, that's just how it is. So they were like, yeah, we're done. We're done forever. So whenever they do come back, maybe they'll get a bunch more hype, and then they can start animating season 4 whatever the hell they want to. Or they don't have to do it ever. I think them doing this was a very good strategical move, and so does that guy at the bar. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think Smiling Friends is ever coming back? But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And that's pretty much all I've got to say about Smiling Friends forever. So that's it. Rest in peace, Smiling Friends. What a great show. And I'll see you guys next time.